Good morning, hello, and welcome to the Virtual Village Hall. I'm Rachel from I Printed That. I hope you are really well today. I hope you're keeping warm. If you've woken up in the UK, then you woke up to a frost this morning. It is freezing, so I hope you're drinking lots of hot drinks. If you're able to put the heating on, or you've got blankets, or you've got hot water bottles, I just really hope you're staying warm and well today. It's not actually as sunny as they promised us today either, so it's a really nice little day to maybe do a little bit of craft. So keep warm, keep moving, and do some craft. So I hope you're able to join me in today's session because today we are using all that packaging that seems to arrive at this time of the year, and we're going to be making some little heart decorations or gifts. So really nice and simple, using stuff that you've probably already got at home. So what I'm going to do, I will pop you down and we'll get started. So if you're anything like me, you maybe get a package through the post that's got lots of paper, really nice kind of coloured craft paper, really good quality, this sort of thing. You get it through the post, but you don't really want to put it in the recycling because it almost feels too good. It feels like it could have another life. So here I'm going to give you today some ideas where you can turn your paper packaging into some little decorations. Now these can be any shape you want. I've gone for hearts. You can print them up if you want, or you can leave them plain. You could even use this with wrapping paper, so any wrapping paper that you have left over, you can make these, and then you don't need to do the little bit of printing. It's just a template, a heart template, cut out. We sew it together. You can use a sewing machine, or if you want to, you can do it by hand. Do it in any colour that you like. It's stuffed just with a little bit of leftover paper, and then you're good to go. Now just bear in mind that these will be flammable. They're just made from paper, so please do promise me that you won't put them near any open flames. That's the only warning that comes with this session today. So how do we make them then? Well, we need that template first of all. I've got my heart template just cut out on a piece of card. Now you can make an easy little heart, or I find the easiest way to make a heart shape so that you get it symmetrical. I like the handmade look, but I also like to give myself a bit of a fighting chance. So I've just got a piece of the wrapping paper here, or just packaging here. And I'm just going to move my camera slightly just so you can maybe see it a bit better. There we are, hopefully you can see that better. Oh, brilliant, okay. And if you're watching live today, please do pop in the comments, say hi, let us know where you're watching from. It's always nice to know that we've got someone with us. And if you're making along today in this session, then we'd love to hear about that too. Again, anything that you make from any of the sessions on the Virtual Village Hall, we would always love to see your photos and let us know that what we're making for you, you're making too. So it's stuff that you want to do. So I've got my piece of paper and I've folded it roughly in half. Then I'm going to just take a pen or a pencil and I'm just going to draw a half heart shape. If you don't feel confident in doing this, then please by all means print one off from the computer. And then I'm going to cut through both pieces of paper and that's going to give us that nice symmetrical shape. Now we're sewing these together, but we don't need to worry about seam allowances, so you can do the exact size that you want it. Don't throw away your bits of paper because we're going to be using those in a minute. Then, will that fit? Let's see. No, let me cut another bit. So I've got a lid of a shoebox here. Again, shoebox is very useful. I tend not to throw those away. It's going to be a little bit noisy. Here we go. And I'm just going to draw around that paper. Draw around the paper heart. Now you could also, depending on how sort of much of, how perfect you like it, let us say, you could stick the paper to the card and then cut around it. That will give you a more accurate heart. But I personally don't mind it looking a little bit handmade. Or you might want to say organic, rustic. These words cover a multitude of sins. Then cut your heart shape out. Or whatever shape you've done. So good morning if you're just joining us. Hope you're well and you're warm. We are making some paper decorations today. Maybe not your usual ones because we're adding a little bit of stitching as well. But we're making it all from recycled materials. Okay, so with our template cut out, all we need to do now is start cutting our parts. Now for this bit, if you wanted to, you could just print a whole load of stamps. So the stamps that I'm going to be using are ones that I've actually cut from linocut. So I'm a print artist and I run printmaking workshops. One of those is linocut. And so I often have little samples to show people, just little stamps. And also for myself, for making cards, for making wrapping paper. So these are the linocut stamps. So what you'll want to use is probably ready-made stamps. So for example, I have some letter ones here. So they're normally going to be with a block of wood. On one side, it will let you know what the stamp looks like. And then on the other side is going to be the stamp itself. These work really well just with ink pads, and you can use any colour that you want. I'm just going to go for black here. I quite like that simple black on that craft paper with a red stitch. But again, any colour you want, you can mix the colours up. You don't just have to have one colour. You can really just use your imagination, have a play, have a little experiment with these. So that's what I'm going to be using, these lino cuts. And you could just stamp the entire sheet if you wanted, and then cut your hearts out so you get a little bit of each stamp. So it looks quite random. Or cut your hearts out and then stamp them up. So just for today, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to cut my hearts out. And so I'm not cutting individual ones because that's going to take quite a while. I'm going to fold my paper up so that I can hopefully cut them a little bit quicker. Great if you're making lots. If you're just making one, then you just double it. I would just double it up. If you're making lots, then you can fold it up. And just using my template as a guide so I know how much fold it up. And then let's see if I'll get another one out of that. Just get another couple in the end. Brilliant. So draw around your template. And now cut it out. And as you're cutting, just make sure that you're holding all those papers together. Maybe if they're slipping around a bit, just put a paper clip on just to hold those in place. Okay, put those to one side, don't get rid of those yet, all the little off cuts. Okay. So the more you cut, the more it wants to move. So this is the point really when you want to make sure all those papers are staying together, all those layers. There we go. Right, so we have all of our paper cut out, and of course it's the outside or the inside of the packaging that we want to use. Unless you quite like the writing on the outside to really show that it's handmade. Okay, that one actually lost a little bit, so we can pop that in that pile. It's great. Okay. So then we want to do our stamps. So if you're using letters, then you can just stamp your word on. And if you're using proper made stamps, then you'll just put your stamp into the ink and then just stamp all over. So I quite like to do it so it looks like it's coming off the side. So it looks like it would have been one hole. But if you wanted, you could just do one stamp right in the middle. So that's my little Nutella stamp. So with linocut, the best thing is to use proper block printing ink. But just for speed, it's quite nice to use an ink pad. Lino does work well with ink pads too. Just double check that I've got a nice flat surface. Yeah. A bit more hard surface. Okay. Let's do my Nutella right in the middle. I'm using a clean roller. And there we go. So entirely up to you, fill it or just do one in the middle. Then we want to put them together. And we're going to do a little bit of sewing now. If you want to use, you can use a sewing machine for this. That would make it a lot quicker. So I just use a contrasting colour. And although I do actually sew paper quite a bit, I don't find that it does blunt your sewing machine needle. However, I do have a needle that I use specifically for sewing paper. So if you're going to do a lot of it, I would maybe just keep a needle aside for using that, because maybe when you go to sew material or fabric, then it might sort of just snag it and pucker it a little bit if the needle isn't sharp enough. So use a different needle if you're going to do quite a few of these for your sewing machine, on your sewing machine. But just using a normal sewing needle here, look, and I'm covered in ink again. I'm just using quite a large needle for this. And actually, before we do the sewing, let's get the insides, or what we're going to stuff this with. Let's get that ready. So as you can see, they are slightly 3D. There's a little bit of padding in these, and all that is just the paper that we had left over. So you could use paper that you've actually shredded before, or just use your scissors just to quickly shred up some paper to put inside. So remember that this video is on the Virtual Village Hall YouTube channel and Facebook page. That's where it will be for you to watch after, if you've just joined us, or if you haven't got time to do this now, you can watch it later. To save the video so you can come back to it, if you go to the save button, so on Facebook, that could be, there's probably going to be 3 dots in one of the corners, depending on what device you're watching it on. Press that, click that, and then choose save for later. If you're watching it on YouTube, then just find the save button. Should be along the bottom somewhere. Okay, so it's quite a nice lot of filling that we've got. I'm just going to scrunch that up, make it a bit softer. Oh, don't need a bit of card in there. Just that last little bit. And this is where you can see I say make sure you don't leave it next to any naked flames. Okay, pop that aside while we do our sewing. Actually, I'm just thinking I'm just going to add a few more hearts just to this side, I think. If I can find my little heart. If not, there we go. There we go, just a last minute addition. And one there, I think. Because I really do love Nutella. Okay, so get your thread if you're sewing this by hand. If you're going to do it on the machine, you could use just a straightforward, just a straight stitch, or you could also use a zigzag stitch to go all around the sides. So I'm going to double up this thread because it's quite thin. If you're using embroidery thread to sew these by hand, then you can just use maybe 3 of the threads in the embroidery, or if you wanted it to be very sort of solid, then you could just use a whole embroidery thread don't worry about separating it. So I'm going to go just the length of my arm, and I'm going to do that twice. Thread my needle. Okay. And as you can see, I've doubled that up. Now I start from the top. Now you might just like to use, just so that it doesn't move around too much, just use some paper clips. Now, unfortunately, I've got a tin of paper clips somewhere and I could not find them this morning. So I've just found a slightly random one. So you could just put the paper clip on, paper clips just a few around the side, because we're going to open this side in a minute. So just a few around the side just to keep it all in place while you sew it. And I want to leave quite a bit at the top because I want to hang these up. There we go. So just leave about that much at the top. Let's just put a little knot in those so they stay still, stay together. Oh, okay. Let's try that again, shall we? Okay, I didn't mean to pull it all the way through. I didn't mean to actually pull it anywhere near coming through. Okay. So leave a length of thread, and then just to secure the other bit, and bring you a bit closer now, I think. So to secure the other bit, just go into the same hole just a couple of times, and that's going to create your knot. Okay, and then we're going to do what's called a blanket stitch. So if I don't get caught up in lots of paper. Okay, so from the underneath, you want to put your needle through, start bringing it up, and then just before you bring it up, you want to put your needle through that loop and then pull it. Then go on to the same thing, so from the underneath to the top, so from underneath to the top side, catch the loop and then bring it over. Just make sure I'm not getting that one all caught up. And we're going to do this right round until the halfway point, or until your thread runs out. And it's quite nice with the blanket stitch because it just gives you that extra little bit of red that frames your decoration. I don't feel that I need to be too precise with this in terms of my spacing, but if you like things a bit more perfect than me, then you could just go round with a ruler, just marking, just with a pencil, just marking those little points, maybe sort of 1 to half a centimetre apart, but as I say, entirely up to you. It's not as easy to sew as fabric because it hasn't really got much give. So I'm kind of a little bit more difficult. But I think the effect is lovely. It's really nice. So Ali's joined us on Facebook this morning. Hello, Ali. She's in snowy Scotland. Hope you're keeping really warm today. Okay, so I've just come to the end of that cotton. So let's just tie a knot on it in it. There we go. I can take that off later, trim that off later. So I'll get some more thread. So I'm going the 2 lengths of my arm. And this time I will pull the thread nearly all the way so that I can take that what's left over. And then just carry on to my halfway mark. Okay, so to make sure that the bit that's the kind of the piece of cotton that's almost giving you the little frame, I just go through it again just so that it catches onto that, because otherwise it will slip onto one side. Just makes it nice and neat, and then you can just position that like that and then just carry on. So before we sew the rest of the side, we want to stuff it with those shreddings that we made earlier. So take as many or as little as you want, depending on how full you want your part to look or your decoration to look. It's when your table starts to look very messy. There we go. Don't worry too much if you've got a few bits poking out the side, because we can just trim those at the end. just going to put a little bit more in there. And don't worry if it's all over to one side, because we, at the end as well, we will sort of manipulate it so that it's got even stuffing. Okay, then just take your paper clips again. If I had more, I would probably do one here too. And then you can continue sewing. So back to our blanket stitch. So the needle's coming from the underside to the top. Oh, she says. It's much easier when I've got it so that I don't have to have it under a camera, so you can see it. There we go. Getting a little bit caught up now. So don't worry about any that are sticking out. We can sort that out. Okay, I don't think I'm going to have quite enough to go to the end. So let's get a little bit more. So just a little bit more to go. I'm going to make sure that's out the way again. Ooh. think I've just gone through the cotton rather. Oh no, that's fine. That's sorted itself out. There's one thing when you're sewing with 2 threads, it can get caught up a bit. So last one into the middle. And then I will just cut that there. And if you tie those together, just one little knot. So give it a little bit of a squidge to move some of that paper around. If any bits do stick out, then you just need to give them a trim. And there we have our recycled. Oh, trim that bit as well. Our recycled 3D heart. So say, give them as gifts, put them up as decorations. Add a little bit of rustic feel to your home. So thank you so much for joining me this morning. I hope that's inspired you to have a look into your recycling bins and to have a go at doing something crafty. You can do it quickly by using a sewing machine, or if you want to spend a bit more time with it, you can go for the hand sewn version. So I look forward to seeing you again soon. Please do stay safe, stay warm and stay well, and I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye.